Hey everybody, and welcome to the Backlash. I'm your host, David J. Reilly, here on Ash Wednesday. It's February 18th, 5 o'clock p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. You make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, your family, and make sure that you follow us on all of our platforms. We're on X at Real Backlash. Hold on, let me get my cursor up here. X at Real Backlash. Our website, thebacklash.net. You can support the podcast at subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. You can, of course, send in your super chats at thebacklash.net/superchat. We've got a power chat and an entropy, as well as our own little crypto super chat thing. Or you could send in a super chat right on Rumble or YouTube, wherever you're watching. If you want to ask any questions or add to the program, please send in your super chats. We'd love to read what you guys have to say. Make sure that you follow us on all of our platforms. We're on Rumble, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Primal. You can get all of our links to the show at thebacklash.net/subscribe. And please make sure that you follow us on YouTube at Real Backlash and on Rumble at Backlash Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Got to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. First up is Above Time Coffee Roasters. They are an amazing small batch hand-roasted coffee company out of Pennsylvania. They are pro-white. They are pro the United States, and they are for the people in this country that want to put America first. So please go and support them. ODGG Supply, whether you're going blankie mode or tactical night vision, night goggle mode, ODGG Supply has got all of your prepping needs. Go to odggsupply.com. And also our friends at Antelope Hill Publishing. They are keeping history alive with a bunch of incredible work, incredible books that will help white people fight the system, the anti-white system. Also, idahotallow.com and our friends at atlasbullion.com. If you've been seeing some of the craziness going on in the financial markets, it makes sense to get some gold and silver in self-custody. So thank you so much for joining us. We've got a really, really packed show tonight. There's been a bunch actually going on in the news this week. And there's a bunch of stuff going on locally, too. We're going to be having a little get-together on Friday, February 27th. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, if you live in North Idaho, please get in contact with us. Get in touch. Send an email to info@thebacklash.net or go to our website, thebacklash.net, and there's a contact page. Let us know whether you're in the area or not, and we can send you some more details on where this little get-together is going to be Friday, February 27th. So that'll be really cool. It's really important to build those local networks and get more people involved. There's so much. Hold on, let's see. Let me get the power chats up. Goal settings. There we go. Hello. It's so important to make sure that you're getting involved in your local area and building fraternal networks, rebuilding social fabric, which has been completely destroyed by, the financial system, by the boomers. So please get in touch with us. Hold on, let me get entropy up. Just realized we are not streaming over there. Done. And so, let's see. What is going on this week? We've got something interesting. We'll start with a little bit of slop, I guess. Jesse Jackson, the race huckster, died this week. I don't know if you guys saw that. He died at 84 years old. And of course, this is the guy that, kind of held the civil rights movement together in the wake of the assassination of Martin Luther King. But the guy was just a race huckster. There's this old article, this article from 1984 by Clive Lehman from the Washington Post. It says, just who is spreading the racist tension? And as a matter of fact, it was Jesse Jackson. It says some reporters and politicians appear to be unhappy with Jesse Jackson's frankness about racism. He diagnoses this unmentionable social disease as a cause of tension in the campaign and then is accused himself of spreading it. So anyway, there's a little bit of interesting stuff. I don't think that he is going to be too terribly missed, to be quite honest. He never really did anything for this country. What else happened this week? A little bit of a follow-up from our show last Friday. If you watched, there was an episode that I did, Dave After Dark, about Zionism, Catholicism, and all of this stuff that's happening on the Religious Liberty Commission that was put forward by the Department of Justice. We have news now that Carrie Prejean Bowler was, in fact, removed by the Religious Liberty Commission. On Friday, we were just speculating as to whether or not that would happen. This happened, of course, after she echoed the Pope's statements calling what was going on in Gaza a genocide. She said a designated federal officer told her that White House officials were monitoring her posts and calling them anti-Semitic. She later says that a White House presidential personnel office caller named Mary asked for her resignation, citing conversations with the commission chairman, Dan Patrick, and Paula White, the crazy psycho speaking in tongues lady, televangelist, and a woman that she identified as Brittany Bell Baldwin. The last name is unclear. So there's a little bit of an update on that. Geez. Religious liberty is not exactly the best idea in the world, but in a country with a First Amendment that was theoretically founded on religious liberty, it is so telling that you are basically unable to, practice your religion if it in any way contradicts Zionism. That's what we've learned from this whole thing. Carrie, after being forced to resign, put out a long post on X talking about the Catholic Church's position on the modern state of Israel, the fact that it does not fulfill biblical prophecy, or that Catholics are religiously obligated to support any political nation as part of God's plan of salvation. Very true. And it's interesting, if you go back and watch the show on Friday, we talked a little bit about Nostra Aetate and the kind of tension that exists between the Catholic Church's teaching before Vatican II and after Vatican II. But what's interesting is, in spite of that tension, the teaching is clear that Christians are Israel. It is not some made-up terrorist state in the Middle East on some spit of desert by the Mediterranean. That is just some political project by Jews. It's not the Israel of the Bible. It is not the fulfillment of Genesis, 3:15. So anyway, it's sad to see that happen, but we wish Carrie the best of luck. She's gone from like 5,000 followers on X. How many does she have now? She's it's amazing. She's got over 104,000 followers on X now. 4 years ago, if you got on X and you said something about the Jews or Israel or Zionism, you would have gotten canceled. You would have had your account banned. You would have been subject to debanking and deplatforming. And nowadays, when you do it and you come out and you speak the truth, it's kind of wild. You get boosted. You get a lot of pats on the back. So the situation clearly is changing, but we're going to be getting into this a little bit more tonight, because we are certainly not out of the woods yet when it comes to this whole issue. The battle is not won. I think it's just getting started. So we will be delving into the Israel stuff in just a little bit. What else did we have? Also, the Holy See. We had done a couple of episodes a few weeks ago about the Donald Trump Board of Peace that Israel has now signed on to. This is supposed to be the new international organization that is going to be gatekeeping peace in Gaza and in Israel and trying to prevent war from breaking out. Really, the whole thing is just a money laundering operation. We went over this, like I said, a few episodes ago. It seems as though it is designed to enrich the Donald Trump family, as well as people like Tony Blair and some of these Jeffrey Epstein connected people. It looks like it's a money laundering op designed to look like real estate development, essentially. And so we found out this week that the Vatican is not going to be participating in the Board of Peace because of its particular nature, which is evidently not that of other states. Vatican's Secretary of State Pietro Parolin said, at the international level, it should be above all the UN that manages these crisis situations. This is one of the points on which we have insisted. Now, come on, man. Why does the church cuck itself to the United Nations? This is stupid, in my opinion. But hey, this is the liberal, rules-based world order versus the new Zionist world order, and they are clashing with one another. And so we're going to be, like I said, we'll be talking about that a little bit more as we go on. Something else that was interesting that happened this week, we had Valentine's Day over the weekend. And I don't know if you guys caught this. There's this clip that has gone ridiculously viral. It's so brutal, of the guy Clavicular. I'm sure you've heard of him at this point. He's the looks maxer. He's made this idea of looks maxing extremely popular. He went out to the club on Valentine's Day and stole a chick right out from under her boyfriend of 1 year. If you haven't seen the clip, here it is. I'll play it for you real quick.
It is retarded, you know that, right? Come away with me while I get it.
I want you guys to guess how far away the cuck is from the girl.
So yeah, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Wow, bro, you can't steal my girl, bro. It's Valentine's Day, bro. You can't steal my girl. Good guy. I know you're a good guy.
Past Valentine's Day was
no,
yesterday.
but like the kindness of your heart, bro. Come on. You're a good guy. I know you're a good guy.
Brother, 18 minutes ago, Valentine's Day ended, so you're gonna have to buck up.
I'm good. Bro.
Holy shit.
1 year, bro.
Why is this guy begging me?
Come on, man.
That's literally the lamest shit ever. It is retarded, you know that.
Bro, that is so brutal to watch. Guy's dating a girl for like a year and then goes to the club with her on Valentine's Day, and Clavicular steals your girl. Well, what's really going on here? What's really going on here is something called hypergamy. Those of you involved with like the red pill community, you already know about this. This is the idea that women are basically only interested in like the top 10% of men, whereas men will basically, they will mate or hook up or whatever with, any woman that's within 3 or 4 degrees of where they are, right? Whether they're at their equal or a little above or a little below. Like if some girl is, good looking and nice and she works at McDonald's, a guy will date her. But if a guy works at McDonald's, then no woman will touch him. That's hypergamy. And so it's a very interesting concept. We're going to be talking about it a little bit more in depth this Friday, actually, at 6:00 p.m. Pacific. I think that's 9 p.m. Eastern. We've got a great guest that's going to be coming on the show. Let me pull it up real quick. Backlash. We are going to be talking with Homath. I don't know if you guys have been following him on X, but he is an absolutely great follow. Homath, he's on X at It's Homath, and he makes these like really amazing short explainer videos on men and women and how we interact with one another and female psychology. So we're going to get into that clip with Clavicular. We're going to find out why women act the way they do, crazy and irrational at times. So tune in for that. That'll be this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific with Homath. And so that kind of clears up the slop for this week. Try to avoid most of it, but it's interesting. I want to make sure that we're covered because there's a lot of people that watch this show that you don't want to have to sift through all of this crap yourself. Give me the thumbnail sketch, give me the highlight of what's been going on in the news this week. So there you go. Now, moving on to our first big story of the night. There was a crazy shooting that happened in Rhode Island. Not sure if you saw this, but there was a tranny shooter that murdered his family up in Rhode Island this week. Let me pull up some of these tweets. Get it ready for you here. Oh, geez. Let me tell you why my political views are saner than yours. These cartoons just hit. Quick, stop the gunman. It's gun person. And of course, if you don't affirm their identity, they'll become a mass shooter. And it's always the ones that you least suspect. So here is an actual picture of the transgender person that picked up a gun. They were at a skating rink, an ice skating rink in Rhode Island. It turns out that the guy had insurance pay for his gender-modifying surgeries. Let's see here. This was his Twitter before he went on this shooting spree. He said the whole shebang, pun intended, was covered nearly 100%. Shrink hormones, tits, laser, thumbs up, bottom. This is what the state is doing with your tax money, by the way. We had an issue here in Idaho a few years ago where there was a tranny that got arrested for raping a kid. And while he was in jail, he insisted that the state pay for his transgender surgery, and the state of Idaho paid for it, setting an awful precedent. I think that's been dealt with since then. There was some legislation that came down the pipe. But this is becoming quite the epidemic. Not only was this trans thing, not only was this one in a long line of transgender shootings. There was the Rhode Island hockey shooter, Tumble Ridge shooter, Nashville Covenant Catholic school shooter, the Aberdeen shooter, Minneapolis Annunciation, another Catholic church shooter that was trans, the Denver STEM school, and Colorado Springs. We got a non-binary. But not only is this an epidemic over a long period of time, this was the second trans shooting in 1 week. So earlier this week, a transgender man killed 8 kids in a school. So this is in fact a crisis that is sweeping across the country. We also had up here in Idaho the Canfield Mountain Massacre, which was last summer. We had a non-binary brony kid that went up on the mountain, lit a bunch of fires, lured firefighters to come out to the scene, and then proceeded to shoot them with a shotgun. So this is a real problem, and we're going to need some sort of legislation about this. I don't know if we need to reopen mental asylums or if we need red flag laws for transgender people. I'm generally a pretty big supporter of the Second Amendment, but come on, this is out of control. This is the 10th or 11th shooter in half as many years where somebody has mutilated themselves and gone absolutely nuts on their own family. There is footage here of the Rhode Island incident, some slow-mo footage. If you see in the background moving, this is the, let's see if I can pull it up. In the white hat, this is the person that pulled out a gun, and he shot his wife and his son, and I believe injured a couple of other people that were in the hospital. And why? Because the guy was delusional. Now, there is something that I think should be said about this. I saw this actually, Richard Spencer was talking about this. The issue isn't even necessarily that these people are trans or that being trans causes you to kill people. it's mental there's a mental illness there that is messing with these people's worldview before they even become trans. And so, by the time that you get somebody that is mentally ill, that has mutilated their body, you've kind of whittled this down because there's a lot of mentally ill people in this country. I don't know if you've been to Portland recently or Seattle or Philadelphia, but they are all over the streets. And instead of taking care of these people, the government is enabling them. And then, of course, if you try to do the right thing and you try to say, hey, maybe you need help. I don't think you're well. Well, then you're a bigot and you are liable to get either sued for gender misidentification or bigotry. I know in Coeur d'Alene, they posted a new ordinance about discriminating against people's gender ideologies. Well, it's gone way too far. And of course, we're not going to get anything from the Donald Trump administration. But for those of you that are here and you're paying attention, this is going to have to be a goal that we have over the next several years. And the goal was clearly enunciated by our friend Basil, Bazillion Thought. Big shout out to the Benny Basil show. He said, in a normal society, a person presenting this way would be denied entry to a kid's extracurricular event being held in a place of public accommodation. But because of the Civil Rights Act, via Bostock and other state laws, it incorporates gender identity and expression. 2 people are dead and dozens more are traumatized. Ostensibly, this is done in order to protect the right of mentally ill perverts and crossdressers to force others to engage in their fetish. But it's really because these people are a rhetorical fig leaf for the expanding censorship regime, and because these people, by way of mental illness, propaganda, and dependence on the pharmaceutical industry, are leftist sleeper cells. Bravo. Couldn't have said it any better. So just to point out again, the Civil Rights Act needs to be repealed. We need to be able to protect our kids from these types of freaks that are at any moment gonna snap or go berserk mode. And by the way, this shooter actually responded to none other than Alex Jones. In the week prior to grabbing a gun and killing his family, he actually responded to Alex Jones. So Kevin Sorbo tweeted, Tim McBride is a man. Community note this if I'm wrong. The shooter, Roberta Dorgano, whatever on X, said, keep bashing us, but do not wonder why we go berserk. Jones said, so creepy. Roberta said, shut the fuck up, Alex. Don't be so butthurt over somebody different, then wonder why trans people go fucking berserk. It's not like the writing was on the wall at all. Where's the FBI? You've got to do the line. We were aware, we knew about him in advance. We were aware that he was a threat and we did nothing. Just like, remember there was a FedEx shooter and I think that guy was a brony too. Remember the FedEx plant? Some guy grabbed a gun and shot the whole thing up and the FBI knew about him and did nothing. So over the next 5-10 years, this is going to have to be like the new pro-life movement, the repealing of the Civil Rights Act. We've got to get rid of Bostock. We've got to get rid of these goofy exemptions that make it so that mentally ill people can basically run roughshod over reality, over the rest of us. Because it affects everyone, whether you're in Idaho or New York. All it takes is one mentally ill person to run a lawsuit, and then all of a sudden your right to think freely and your right to live in reality is suspended by the Civil Rights Act. So we're going to have to get rid of this because they are going to go berserk. And we need to be careful too, because there's a lot of people in the Trump administration that have been talking about the idea of reopening these mental institutions, but they're not going to put these trannies in the mental institutions. That's not what they're talking about. They want to classify anti-Semitism as a mental illness, and they want to put people like you and me into these mental asylums because we don't support Israel. You got to be careful. Watch some of this rhetoric, because that's where it's going. So anyway, it's unbelievable. And if you need to arm yourself with knowledge. And one of the best ways to do that is with our friends at Antelope Hill Publishing. They have a book that I want to recommend to you. It's called The Transgender Industrial Complex by Scott Howard. And in it, he goes all through the transgender ideology, the movement, what it means, where it comes from, how to combat it. And it's really incredible. I'm assuming because you're a discerning viewer and you watch this show, you probably already know all about the Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft. But in case you don't, let's see. Should have put this in the notes beforehand. The Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft is where all of this stuff comes from. It was started by a Jewish man named Magnus Hirschfeld in the early 1900s, who pioneered transgenderism and transgender surgeries, where he would do things like take little boys and transplant the sexual organs of old freak degenerates into the young men to see what would happen. This is where transgenderism comes from. And when you see the photographs of Nazis burning books in Berlin, guess what books they were burning? They were burning his books. They were burning Magnus Hirschfeld's books. They were burning the publications for the Institute for Sex Research and the Frankfurt School as well. So you'll learn about all of that in the Transgender Industrial Complex by Scott Howard, which is available at Antelope Hill Publishing. Use promo code Backlash10 and you'll get 10% off your order. I've got a script I've got to read for these guys too. So Antelope Hill Publishing, they're fighting to keep history alive amidst a regime of anti-white censorship, and they're equipping new generations of dissidents with the information to fight the anti-white regime. Their varied catalog includes newly updated and expanded third edition of Dr. Kevin MacDonald's Culture of Critique, the essential modern text on Jewish identity, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne's magnum opus, Greatness and Ruin, the definitive scholarly examination of European exceptionalism, as well as works by Kerry Bolton, Paul Kersey, and Josh Neal. Antelope Hill recently brought David Irving's iconic Nuremberg The Last Battle back into print, and have numerous translations of historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and Civil War Spain, all previously unavailable in English. There are also plenty of books on contemporary issues, such as transgenderism, the opioid crisis, and Christian nationalism, as well as history books, novels, and children's books. So whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published with sleek, modern cover art. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and fight for our cause. Visit antelopehillpublishing.com. All right, contractual obligations fulfilled. But please get a copy of the Transgender Industrial Complex. It will open your mind, and you'll see things a little bit differently once you kind of start digging into it. All right, moving in to our next story. Let me get this all lined up, and then we'll go. So another big story that we've been talking about this week, I talked about it a little bit last Friday. There was a murder in France that happened. A young 20-year-old activist named Quentin was murdered by far-left Antifa activists while he was engaging in a protest with a group called Nemesis, or Project Nemesis. We have an article here from Vox Europa. We Are Quentin, right-wing activist killed by the far left. Here's everything you need to know. We'll read through some of this, and we'll get into it. On Thursday, February 12th, 2026, around 6 p.m. in Lyon, a French parliamentarian named Rima Hassan, a prominent pro-Palestinian figure, gave a conference on EU Middle East relations. The Nemesis Collective had organized a peaceful protest with a few of their activists unfurling a banner that said, "Get out, Islamo-leftists." Quentin, a 23-year-old mathematics student with no criminal record, was there to support Nemesis's action, not as an official security agent, according to his family and lawyer, but simply to defend his convictions peacefully. A close friend, Baptiste, told Frontier every week he'd go out to bring food and some human warmth to the homeless on the streets of Lyon. Quentin was genuinely virtuous, a very noble soul, a true Frenchman. He added, what drove him every day was his faith and his desire to serve. He came to help those brave young women from Nemesis. On the other side, the Antifa mob was clearly looking for a fight. It says 5 young women from Nemesis were assaulted by far-left militants near the event. At the same time, others were being chased by 30 Antifa. Between 6:30 and 6:40 p.m. on Rue Victor Lagrange, about 500 meters away, Quentin found himself isolated, thrown to the ground, and lynched with kicks to the head by a gang of hooded militants wearing reinforced gloves. He was rushed to a hospital with severe brain injuries and placed in an induced coma. Amateur footage shows about 20 people in the street, a motionless man on the pavement, and an outburst of pure hatred and violence. The far-left militants kept beating the unconscious man laying on the ground. Now, if you were paying attention during the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020, there was an incident in Chicago where I remember seeing a guy get absolutely destroyed. It was a white guy surrounded by black people. He got his head kicked in. It was absolutely brutal. I remember seeing it on Tucker Carlson. This was like back in 2019, 2020, and it was just so shocking. But it seems like this was a very similar thing that happened, and it has all of Europe alight with activity, all kinds of memorials and gatherings. Here's a photograph of him. This is from Jared Taylor. The family has released a photo of the 23-year-old nationalist Quentin Deranque. I don't know how to say it. Quentin. He was beaten to death by Antifa in Lyon on February 12th. We are all Quentin. Now, let's get some of the images of these protests, because that was pretty interesting to see. French nationalists attacked the Antifa neighborhood in Paris, justice for Quentin.
Antifa, assassin, Antifa, assassin, Antifa, assassin, Antifa, assassin, Antifa, assassin, Antifa,
So they're going around saying Antifa are assassins. This is our house. That's one of the protests. Here's a memorial that was held for him. Some of this stuff is going to be in a different language. I'll translate as best as I can when I can. This was in Nice. Nationalists were honoring Quentin. Unbelievable outpouring of support all across Europe for Quentin. Even in Spain, a group of Spanish people sat in solidarity with a protest for him. Let me see if I can kind of do a translation for those of you listening on audio only over on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for subscribing there. Just 72 hours ago, a group of anti-fascists killed Quentin, a 23-year-old young Frenchman. The reason is that Quentin, a young Frenchman, had accompanied the girls from Collective Nemesis to an event where they were going to stage a political protest, an event in Lyon. They used its weapon, cowardly violence, senseless violence, violence beating someone on the ground that only cowards do. Those responsible have names and surnames, and they must pay for it. The group, the Young Guard, associated with French anti-fascism, blah, 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 refused to criticize and distance itself from the vile murder. An advisor, Raphael, to the pseudo-terrorist group, is a member of parliament, one of the main perpetrators of this murder. From Barcelona, we offer this small but heartfelt tribute in solidarity with all of our French comrades who today see more than ever that their struggle has meaning. that taking a stand for the future of our nations has meaning, that there are values worth risking everything for, even our very lives. Comrade Quentin, the enemy's violence has torn you from the streets. Anti-fascist violence has torn you from our streets, but today, from Barcelona, we promise that they will never tear you from the hearts and souls of Europe's young patriots. In the hearts and souls of young patriots across Europe, you will live. And as an example, your struggle will... Anyway, Comrade Quentin Presente. So you get kind of an idea here for how much this has absolutely rocked Europe. Now, in the wake of the murder of this young activist, French police have arrested 9 far-left extremists suspected of killing the 23-year-old mathematics student. Several of the suspects are linked to an Antifa group founded by a far-left member of French Parliament, Raphael Arnault, who is a member of the Jean-Luc Mélenchon's La France, the LFI. It's a leftist party. One of the 9 men arrested is Arnault's parliamentary assistant, Jacques-Élie Farveau, who was photographed at the scene when Quentin was killed. The far-left extremists were at the site to attack members of the Nationalist women's rights organization, Collective Nemesis. The Nationalist women were planning to unfurl a banner in front of the university where Rima Hassan, a far-left member of the European Parliament, from the same LFI political party that Arnault is a representative of, she was giving a speech there. The prosecutor is now investigating the 9 men for manslaughter, aggravated assault, and forming a criminal association. The far-left extremists are said to have repeatedly kicked Quentin in the head when he was already unconscious on the ground, causing fatal injuries. So, the article goes on, but you get the idea here. It's tragic. It's sad to see. We've been seeing a lot of this type of violence in the United States. We've been seeing it since 2016, when people would go up and smash Trump supporters in the head for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Portland, there was a young man that was shot in the back of the head for attending a Trump rally. Of course, there was Charlottesville, the Battle of Berkeley, the Patriot Prayer protests down in Portland. We've seen a lot of this far-left violence, up to and including the Charlie Kirk assassination, which we just had dealt with on September 10th of this past year. So things are clearly spinning up and out of control. I mentioned this a while ago, directly in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, that if you read the book The Last Crusade, or no, I take it back, it was The Martyrs of the Spanish Civil War. In that book, you can see how tensions raised in the lead up to the 1936 Civil War. The left were trying to do a revolution in Spain. And, of course, Franco and his band of fascists and Requette Army and the Catholic Church, they stood up against the left's revolution. But you can see in the beginning of that book, they give statistics where it was 1 assassination a month, and then it was 2 assassinations a month, and then it was 1 a week, and then it was 2 a week, and then in one day there were hundreds of assassinations all over Spain. And that's what really kicked off the war. And so we're starting to see this happen here in the West. We've been talking about how things are getting crazier and they're beginning to spin out of control because the liberal world order just does not work. It's not fundamentally based in reality. It's a construct that they've been forcing all of us to live in. And the train is coming off of the rails. Now, with all of this said, with all of these tributes that we're seeing in places like Bucharest, we're seeing, that's Romania. There was, let's see here, there was a rosary that was held for him in Paris, where a group of French Catholic nationalists prayed a rosary for his soul. There's a bunch, there's more than I'm going to be able to get to. Here's another one that I think that was in Nice, France. I'm not going to bother, translating this one, but we'll take a quick look.
Toujours présent pour ses camarades, un catholique fervent, d'une foi ardente et qui évangélisait autour de lui. Et c'est bien toute cette beauté qu'incarnait Quentin que ne supporte pas la gauche. Au même titre que le diable ne supporte pas quand vous adorez le Christ, l'extrême gauche vomit la beauté et la bonté. Il n'y a qu'à les regarder.
You get the idea? You do get the idea. Now, at the same time that we obviously stand in solidarity with Quentin, our hearts go out to Quentin, his family, his comrades. But there's something else that's going on here. There's something else a little bit deeper, and I don't think that anyone else on the right is willing to call this out. I think I may be the only one. There might be someone else that I'm unaware of. But pardon me, I need to get some extra nicotine here. I'm not going to do the lozenges anymore as much. I'm trying to do the pipe, and so I need my nicotine. Hold on. We'll edit that out in the short. Now, what no one else in the right is going to call out about this is that there is a dichotomy that is being set up in Europe among the far right and the left. Obviously, this is not a program. I am not a person that would ever defend Antifa. Fuck those people. They need to be rounded up and put in jail. Or better, in Idaho, we have a firing squad. So I'm just saying the legal process should happen, and those types of people should be absolutely rounded up and taken off the streets. There's no doubt about it. But what's happening is that in Europe, since the wave of mass migration that has completely flooded them, since there was the disturbance in Syria in 2014 that led to this massive influx of Muslims to Europe, the Great Replacement. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. The thing about this is that these Muslims that are coming into Europe are also deeply anti-Semitic. They're deeply anti-Israel. And so the powers that be in Europe are seeing an increase in anti-Semitism, not from the far right, but from the migrants. And so what's happening is a dichotomy is being set up where European elite Jews are now choosing to back the far right against these Muslims, not because they've invaded Europe, not because they're making Europe not Europe anymore, not because France is no longer French, but because they're anti-Semitic. That's what's going on. And you saw it in this article that I published, or I put up here from Vox Europa. It's talking about how this group was supposedly protesting a French MP named Rima Hassan. Now, Rima Hassan, we'll pull up her Wikipedia. This is her, Rima Hassan. She is a French member of parliament, and she is of Palestinian origin. She was born in a refugee camp near Aleppo, Syria in 1992. She arrived in France at the age of 9, settled with her family, and after obtaining French nationality, got a master's degree, and then she ran for office. Now, here's the issue. Let's see. First of all, the protests that were being held between the French far right and Antifa, that was happening on the other side of town than where Rima Hassan was. She was in the 7th district. Quentin was assaulted in the 5th district on the opposite side. So there's no connection between the two, contrary to what the Evening News is reporting. Even Quentin's family and lawyer have refuted the claims made by the far-right group Nemesis. So obviously these sources that we're looking at now, these are left-wing sources, but we're getting both sides of the story here. There were no police deployed. According to our information, this is from William Champeau. According to our information, the territorial intelligence services had been warned for several days about the planned happening of the female nationalists of Nemesis in front of Sciences Po Nevertheless, no visible police presence was deployed. So why was there no police presence deployed? What does that remind you of? Does that remind you of Charlottesville, where not only were there no police deployed, but when they were activated by the Virginia State Police, they pushed the right wing into the left wing, and they forced a conflict, which ultimately led to 2 police officers dying in a helicopter crash, and Heather Heyer dying of a heart attack after the car plowed into a group of left-wing protesters. So there's just some more background on this person, Rima Hassan. She was on the flotilla. You remember the flotilla that had Greta Thunberg that went off to try to stop the war in Gaza? Well, she was on that flotilla. There's actually, I think, a picture of her with Greta. Let's see here. This was when the boats were being attacked by the Israeli military. And Rima herself has been attacked by the Jews in France. So this is coming from an account called Simon Weinberg. He did the echoes for us. That doesn't even look like a real person. Is that AI? That looks AI. There's probably some fat, disgusting slob without any hair. So it says, in a desperate attempt, Rima Hassan is trying to justify herself after her anti-Semitic tweet. She adopts a classic line of defense, but holds up neither intellectually nor morally nor legally the argument from authority as a smokescreen hiding behind Jewish authorities to legitimize an anti-Semitic comparison, and then crying censorship. So, you know, we've got this woman who's in French Parliament. She's a leftist. She is pro-mass migration. She is pro the erasure of France. But she is against the Zionists, right? This has been something we've been talking about on the show for a long time. The idea of, well, is it possible to have some sort of coalition with the left, with, let's say, Muslims, because they're anti-Israel? Can we work with them to, you know, put our countries first, to sever the link between the Israeli security state and the West? Well, I think that this incident shows us that, in fact, no, we're not going to be able to partner with leftists on this issue, because the left fundamentally doesn't agree with our position. And our position is that France belongs to the French, England belongs to the English, Germany to the German, America to the American, right? That's our position. That's the position of any nationalist. But you can see that there is something going on where right-wing Zionist Jews are attempting to take the energy from the European right-wing youth and plug it into a pro-Zionist outlet. You know, we've all been seeing some of this stuff going on with Tommy Robinson, right? Now, I believe, let me go on X real quick and pull this up, Tommy Robinson, because Tommy, who we all know is a Zionist agent, Tommy has been tweeting about Quentin and justice for Quentin, et cetera, et cetera. Let me pull up the tweet. Let's see. See, I knew I needed to. This is what happens when you need to do show prep. Yeah, here's like one of the tweets. Let's say this was retweeted by Tommy Robinson. Graduate, blah, 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 wrote this piece calling a man beaten to death by the far left for defending women, you know, being attacked as far right, and calling women who were attacked as far right feminists, right? So you can see Tommy Robinson is here, and he is amplifying some of this stuff. There was another tweet that I had seen that was a little bit more explicit. God, this guy tweets way too much. He's clearly got somebody doing this for him. There's no way. Oh my gosh. Anyway, The point being that there is a very clear operation here to co-opt the energy of the right wing in Europe and plug it into a Zionist outlet. And so on the one hand, while we're seeing things that are frankly really cool, like how the French right wing, they went and raided Antifa's headquarters. You know, they broke in, trashed the place, spray painted it, and then held up flares outside, right? Nothing like that happened when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. You know, we had our little prayer vigils and whatnot, but nothing has been done. Nothing has been done about the left in America. You know, so on the one hand, you love to see stuff like this happening, where the right wing is getting activated and they're taken to the streets and they're actually kicking the shit out of the left. Love to see that. But there's something more sinister happening below the surface. And the European far right is going to have to be very careful going forward. You know, there's also some stuff that's been going on. Hold on, let me pull up these tweets real quick. As we know, over the past decade, Palantir has launched a campaign to suppress the far right in Europe. This was, of course, before world Jewry decided that Muslims are more of a problem than white Christian Europeans. This was a video taken in 2023 at the World Economic Forum with Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, talking about Project Gotham. Let's take a listen.
Look, we built PG, which single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. We built Foundry, which was used to distribute the COVID vaccine and saved millions of lives globally. We built what we call multi-constellation, and what's often called the digital kill chain. And they're category-defining products. So when you deliver these products to the market, just honestly, people say this isn't going to exist, this isn't valuable, but then it changes the market. And then the market is the Palantir market. Now, that doesn't mean everyone in the world is going to buy our product, but it means most of the sensible people in the world are going to define.
So he says that Project Gotham, he says PG, Project Gotham single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. Well, who are we talking about? We were talking about the identitarian movement, people like Martin Sellner, people like Action Française. There were a bunch of other right-wing French groups that were not only decimated by these operations between Palantir, groups like Hope Not Hate that infiltrated them, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and the European equivalents of those. Not only did that all happen, but now what seems to be happening is people like Tommy Robinson and people in France, in Spain, in Germany, like the AFD, which is run by a lesbian who's married to a Pakistani. You've got the woman in France, what was her name? Le Pen, Marine Le Pen. All of these parties are pro-Israel. They are all pro-Israel because they think that by cozying up to European Zionists, that they will be able to kick the Arabs out of their country and that they'll be able to get their country back. But we've seen in America how this plays out, right? With Donald Trump. We thought Donald Trump was going to deport them all. We thought he was going to build a wall. We thought that he was going to do things to help America become America again. And after we elected Trump, he's done nothing for us. He's betrayed us, backstabbed the movement, covered up the Epstein files. He said, oh, if you're still talking about Epstein, I don't want your vote. I don't want anything to do with you, right? That's what we've gotten in America for cozying up to Zionists. And so now Europe seems to be going down the same path. Now, it's clear that something needs to be done in Europe. that the European far right does, in fact, need to kick all of these Muslims out of their countries. I don't think anyone here would debate that. But it's who is doing it and how they're going about doing it. And I think that we're going to see some failures. So this week in the UK, breaking news, a clip of Nigel Farage has gone out showing that he expelled Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe was a Reform MP in England. He's one of these Brexit guys. And he called for mass deportations. Nigel Farage kicked him out of the party. And this week, Nigel Farage has gone ahead and announced that. Let's take a look at the clip.
You know, people think, oh, Farage has done it. We'll just set a party up. It'll be marvellous. We'll sweep the next election. It just isn't as easy as that. Now, does he have a profile on X? Yes, he does. Is Elon going to support him? Probably. But you see, when he stood up and said that we've got to consider the mass deportation of entire communities, including those born in the United Kingdom, that just moves way beyond a point of reasonableness, of decency, of morality. And that was the moment at which, I realized we just had to get rid of him and get rid of him as quickly as we could. And I think in terms of the way we dealt with that, we were probably more brutal than the other parties. But you know what? That's the way it's going to be.
So there you have it from Nigel Farage, somebody who a lot of people on the right, I think, falsely believed that he was going to do something for Europe. There are other clips of Nigel Farage circulating. I don't know if I have any of them saved. I don't think I have any of them saved here. But Nigel Farage has time and again said that mass deportations are not on the table, that he's not going to do this. Well, this guy, Robert Lowe, has come out and announced that he is going to be doing his own party. It's not Reform, it's called Restore UK. Restore, this is from Rupert Lowe, the leader of the new party in the UK. Restore Britain has been called far-right and racist by The Guardian, Reform, and the whole host of soapless socialists over the last few days. I cannot be clearer on our official party response. We do not care. The illegals will go, the hotels will be empty, the HMOs closed, foreign sex pests, criminals and invaders will be rounded up, and they will be sent home. Far more illegals will leave than enter. These foreign nationals here already will pay their way, they will contribute, they will respect our culture. If they don't do that, fine, their choice. They will leave too. If that's racist to these people, then so be it. This is a logical policy platform that the British people agree with. They've just never had it seriously offered before. Our political party is going to tell the brutal truth. Get used to it. Now, since he's come out this week and announced the establishment of the Restore Party, polling shows that he's going to capture at least 10%, and that's just within the first week. Here's a little video, I guess, from his campaign launch. We'll play a little bit.
I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm because places like this represent what proper Britain is about. Hard work, responsibility, effort, duty, stewardship. This is the England I know, and this is the England that I love. On a farm, you don't think in election cycles or headlines or polling. You think in seasons. You think in generations, in what you leave behind to those who come after you. And that's why, here on the farm, I am now launching Restore Britain as a national political party. I'm now going to dedicate my life to finding, organising, funding, and providing hundreds of qualified candidates to present to the British people at the next general election. This process has already started, with invitations being issued to patriots in aligned political parties, Reform, the Conservatives, the SDP, Advance, and more.
So you get the idea. He's launching a new political party. The party platform is deport them all, that millions must go. And of course, this is wonderful news. We all love to hear it. Love to hear it when these European leaders come out and say that they're against the Islamification of their countries. Who wouldn't? But here's the thing. We've been seeing this over and over and over again. You remember the far-right Dutch MP, Geert Wilders? He was supposed to get elected and deport them all. Well, he's a Zionist. Then you've got Marine Le Pen, right? The welding between the European and U.S. far-right and international Zionist organizations happens not because of a common fight against anti-Semitism, but because of anti-Arab racism. Whatever. Marine Le Pen is in Paris under the flags of Israel proves this. So there's a whole thread here talking about, the Israel situation in France. And it's true. And here's the problem that I'm seeing. With this new political party that has been launched, and it is that this guy, Rupert Lowe, the new head of the Restore Britain Party, check out his tweets, man. Our cowardly government must find the courage to stand with Israel. We must support them however we can. Right? Only 1 in 4 British Muslims believe Hamas committed murder and rape in Israel, report reveals. Rupert Lowe says, outrageous. Right? Why is the BBC describing these terrorist animals as militants? Absolutely disgraceful coverage of the atrocities in Israel. Hamas butchered and murdered innocent women and children in their own homes, to the disgusting glee of thousands within our own country. And now many of those are suggesting Israel do nothing in response, a ceasefire. Words can't describe my disdain for these apologists. So this is the new guy. This is the new leader of the far right in Britain. And here it is. He's a Zionist. Okay? Now, I did have a little bit of a back and forth with our friend. He's been on the program before, and we love him very much, Academic Agent. And he said, David, the thing with these tweets is that he made them when he was in the Reform Party and when that was the party line. Since leaving Reform, he's said nothing like that. Right? Now, listen, if he tweeted those things because he had to, because he was in the Reform Party, okay, fine. I get it. You got to play the game, right? But I'm just not that hopeful. I'm not that hopeful that this guy really is going to restore Britain. Because, again, we've seen this script played out over and over again. And it's very clear. We've got these people like Stephen Miller, hardcore Jewish Zionist in Washington, D.C. He's the Hebrew hammer. He's going to deport all the illegals. And look what's happened. We're in the middle of a government shutdown. ICE has been effectively defunded. Department of Homeland Security has run out of money. And we had this whole debacle in Minneapolis where nothing was done other than provoking the left, other than causing a huge scuff-up protests that allowed the left to get together and organize a resistance to the Trump campaign. So, listen, on the one hand, it's very obvious that there is a sea change, that the future of the right wing in Europe is nationalist. And we've been seeing this over and over again. In spite of Palantir's operations against the far right, groups like the Identitarians and others, they've been resilient in that. But it seems like something has happened. And so I just want you guys to be a little skeptical when you see some of this stuff coming out of Europe, because they're not really our guys. They're doing all of this because of anti-Semitism, and they're doing all of this because of Israel. So the right needs to wake up and understand that partnering with Zionists is not going to help them restore their countries. Partnering with Zionists is not going to bring you the country that you want back. What's going to happen is you're going to deliver the vote for these Zionists. They're going to take power. And while they may deport a couple of Muslims from the country, they're ultimately going to enact policies like digital ID, anti-Semitism laws, and whatever little free speech you have in your countries is going to be taken away. We've seen it time again. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because there's going to be a lot of glazing. A lot of the people that are behind J.D. Vance are going to be championing a lot of these far-right parties, groups like Restore Britain. And I think we need to be skeptical and need to hold these people's feet to the fire. So those are my thoughts on the rise of the far right in Europe. Now, listen, this is also one of the reasons why you need to be prepared. We talked about the death of Quentin. We talked about how he was, brutally beaten by Antifa. This is why you need to shop at ODGG Supply, right? There is going to be more unrest in Europe, in America. There's going to be more protests. The left is clearly on an upswing. There is a backlash against Donald Trump that is brewing and is going to spill over to all right-wingers and conservatives. And so you need to be prepared. If you're at work, God knows these leftists could come and shut down the highway. They could make it so that you're unable to move and maneuver in the city with your car. So it's a good idea to go to odggsupply.com and start constructing a bug-out bag for yourself. They've got a lot of amazing used military surplus gear that can be very handy in a pinch. You can keep it in your trunk with food, supplies, blankets, and, all kinds of other freedom-associated things. I don't want to say it out loud, but you know what I'm talking about for those of you that like your Second Amendment. So go to ODGG Supply. Be prepared. Don't get caught flat-footed. Don't get caught in a situation where you're surrounded by leftists getting beaten on. Be ready. Be ready for anything. And if you use promo code BACKLASH25, you will get free shipping on all of your orders. So visit odggsupply.com. Man, that is the one thing about not having co-hosts is, I can't sneak a sip of water in or, get some tobacco. So, our last big story this evening is the detention of Tucker Carlson in Israel. Have you seen this? It's just happened today. Breaking news. Tucker Carlson, at the behest of Donald Trump and the Israeli ambassador Mike Huckabee, took a flight to Israel, right? This is a photograph of him that was tweeted earlier this morning. Greetings from Israel. Now, God knows why he would even try to go there. I wouldn't. I don't think you should either. But Tucker wound up immediately getting detained. This comes from Shadow of Ezra on X. Tucker Carlson said that he and his staff were detained in Israel following an interview with Mike Huckabee. Israeli officials confiscated his passport and took his executive producer to an interrogation room. The officials demanded to know what they spoke to Mike Huckabee about. Quote, "It was bizarre. We are now out of the country," says Tucker Carlson. Now, I think there was another post here. This is from AF Post. Might have said the same thing. Tucker was detained and interrogated once arriving in Tel Aviv to interview U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Critics claimed Carlson was hiding in the Tel Aviv airport where he conducted the interview with Huckabee. Reports have circulated that it was Trump who personally asked Carlson to reduce his amplification of the Israel issue, which provides a backdrop for the interview with Mike Huckabee. Now, there's also an article here. Let me pull this up. This is from the Daily Mail. Tucker Carlson detained and dragged in for an interrogation. It's probably going to just say the exact same thing that we've already seen before. Men who identified themselves as airport security took our passports, hauled our executive producer into a side room, and then demanded to know what we spoke to Ambassador Huckabee about. It was bizarre. We're now out of the country. Prior to the interview, Carlson posted a photo on X of him and his business partner, Neil Patel, in front of Ben Gurion Airport on Wednesday. So, of course, it's been, how long since October 7th? People have become extremely educated on the Israel issue. We know that Israel is a gangster state run by mafia people. For those of you that have been watching this podcast, you would know how American gangsters like Mo Dalitz and Meyer Lansky, heads of organized crime involved with Las Vegas, were siphoning money and laundering it to Israel through the Friends of Israel group. They were involved with militias like the Irgun, the Haganah, the Stern Gang, right? And when the State of Israel was founded, it was founded by blowing up the King David Hotel, right? So Israel is a terrorist state. We know this. This is what has come to light since October 7th. They've got an incredible PR issue on their hands where people are not buying the propaganda anymore. They are no longer blindly supporting Israel. They've dropped in the polls significantly, especially among Gen Z. This has been a recurring theme on the show, that there is backlash against Israel and backlash against the way that they've been prosecuting their war against Gaza, the Palestinians, not just since October 7th, but since the founding of the State of Israel, since the beginning in 1948. And so what do when one of the biggest critics who has been singled out by all of these Jewish organizations, right, the Zionist Organization of America, Mark Levin, all of these vile people that have come out and singled out Tucker, saying that he is the number one anti-Semite in America, that he needs to be taken out. And so what does Israel do? They play right into the stereotype. They drag him behind the scenes, throw him in an interrogation room, and start grilling him and his producer. These people are just not smart. They're just really out to lunch. I don't understand it. I don't know. Can they just not hire good PR people over there? Maybe dragging one of the world's leading journalists into a side room to interrogate him, where, of course, this is going to be blasted all over social media, and people are going to be exposed to Israel's gangster tactics. What are you doing? And at the same time that Tucker Carlson is in Israel getting interrogated, we've got Netanyahu declaring war on Americans.
I say to you,
here's a clip, and we'll get into it a little bit more in just a second.
I say to you in front of these vilifications, do not cower. Do not bend. Do not bow your head. Fight back, because people respect those who respect themselves. And the minorities that fought back, whether it's the blacks or the gays or women, they fought back. And what we have to do as Jews, both here in Israel and in the various Jewish communities around the world, beginning with the United States, is to fight back. Silence will not help. Looking askance will not help. Fight back. That's what I tell you. That's what I tell young Jewish students that I meet. I'm very proud of them when I meet. I say,
unbelievable. Fight back. And it's not just fight back. It's fight back in the same way that the blacks and the gays fought back. This guy sounds like a total leftist, to be honest. And he's the right-wing leader of Israel. Of course, his party, the Likud party, they are like this with all of the gay pride clubs in Tel Aviv. Of course, if you've been paying attention since October 7th, we all know now that Tel Aviv is the number one gay vacation capital in the world. So this is how Israel is choosing to respond in the wake of the exposure that they're getting. Here's some more details on this clip that we just played. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations in Jerusalem, he urged Jews to fight back in America like blacks, gays, women, and other minorities, right? Now, of course, it's like, this is literally proving our point. This is proving everything that those of us on the right have been saying for the last decade or more, that there is, in fact, organized Jewry, world Jewry, that this exists. There is a meeting in Israel for the presidents of major American Jewish organizations in Jerusalem. So it's very clear what's going on here. We've got American Jews going to Israel, receiving their marching orders from Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then they're coming back to America where they are stoking division, hatred, infighting, all for the benefit of Israel. It has nothing to do with America. And they call themselves America first while they do this. They say that if you're anti-Israel, then you're anti-American, right? So as this is all coming out, we've got a clip here. This comes from Vincent James. Big salute to our great friend of the show, Vincent James. How a Jewish reporter is calling for psychological operations to be carried out on Americans.
Why can't Israel be doing some sort of, psychological operations in America where they're trying to penetrate communities that do share their values and get them to recognize that?
Right? As if that's not what Israel has been doing every day since 1948, pretending as though, I wish Israel would do psychological operations in America. Well, we covered it on the show several months ago. There was, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's shooting, do you remember the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs bought geo-targeted advertising to target Christians that went to church on Sunday so that they could serve them pro-Israel content on their feeds? Do you remember that? I do. And what these people are hoping for is that you don't remember. They're hoping that the algorithm and the slop causes you to forget exactly what we have been facing in this country every day, inundated with this propaganda and BS from the Israeli Foreign Ministry, right? And so there's also an article here about what Prime Minister Netanyahu said. This comes to us from another friend of the show, Joel Webbin. An incredible thing happened on Sunday in Jerusalem. The Prime Minister of Israel stood before the assembled leadership of 50 major American Jewish organizations and told them to fight. Not to fight Hamas, not to fight Iran, to fight Americans. He invoked blacks, gays, and feminists as his model. They've got a whole article up at NXR Studios on Substack. I highly recommend reading that. It's a very good article. I think, do we have a copy of it here? We might be able to read a little bit of it. Yeah, it's possible. But to keep pouring and heaping coals on these people's heads, this week we also had a clip of Lindsey Graham speaking once again in Israel, and I will let him speak for himself. Take a listen at what Lindsey Graham said.
About tapering off U.S. military aid.
Yeah, we talked about that.
You've spoken about a quicker timetable. How quickly do you?
Well, I think what his plan is to replace the money of $3-point-something billion with an investment in new technology, rather than just writing you a check. Help the IDF. He wants to create a partnership outside of the aid number. I like that idea. The wars of the future are being planned here in Israel, because if you're not one step ahead of the enemy, you suffer.
The wars of the future are being planned here in Israel. I don't think he was supposed to say that out loud, but here we are. He spoke the actual truth. And it is true. The wars of the future are being planned in Israel. And they're not only being planned in Israel, but they're being planned by Israel in the United States. We have a tweet here from Solomon. Matt Gaetz earlier today said that Mossad should be expelled from the Pentagon. For those of you unaware, there are, in fact, Mossad agents in the Pentagon right now. They have offices in the Pentagon where they can go down the hall at the Department of Defense. They can talk to the Department of National Intelligence. They can, get a hold of Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth. They have literal agents in the headquarters of our military headquarters going around and telling American generals and intelligence agents what to do. It's all being directed by Israel. It's not the other way around. These leftists have it wrong. They think that Israel is America's colonialist project. We have a wag the dog scenario, okay? The tail is wagging the dog here. And of course, there's a reason for it. This is from former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. If no one will love Israel, we'll have to make them fear us. Let's take a listen.
So we have to build a lot of assets, so they need us a lot. Because I've come to one conclusion: they're not going to love us. The aspiration that the world will love Israel, it's not going to happen. What we need is that our enemies fear us, our friends respect us, and everyone needs us. We tried the love us thing for about 3,000 years, didn't work.
Well, and when you pair this together with the Epstein documents, with the revelations that Jeffrey Epstein was attempting to get former Prime Minister Ehud Barak on the board of directors of Peter Thiel's Palantir, which we talked about earlier, you can see that Israel has intertwined itself with the American security state. And they are leading us directly to war. And that's going to be our last big story tonight, is the Iran war. Just yesterday, let me get these clips up. Doing things a little differently here now. Let's see. Boom, boom. Dead air, right? So just yesterday, an article came out here from CNBC. Iran has partially closed the Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil choke point, as Tehran holds talks with the United States. This was yesterday. We've talked about the Straits of Hormuz here on this show a lot before. 30% of the world's oil travels by water through the Straits of Hormuz. And Tehran has the ability to shut that down, and it looks like they did. And of course, this is happening as Trump has sent America's biggest warship and advanced strike fighters towards Iran in the biggest military buildup in the Middle East since Operation Desert Storm in 1991, 92. So we've got a massive deployment. Here's another tweet. The U.S. has deployed over 50 fighter jets to the Middle East in the past 24 hours, including an F-16, F-22, and F-35 jets. And Israeli emergency services and the Home Front Command have been instructed to prepare for war as officials assess the imminent U.S. strike on Iran. So we've been talking about this on this show for over a year at this point. We've been predicting war with Iran. This is not exactly like the biggest news flash in the world, but it does seem like things are starting to heat up. Why is Tucker Carlson going to Israel on this particular day? Why are all of these things like Lindsey Graham coming out talking about the wars of the future being planned in Israel? It's all like concentrated. Things are heating up, the Straits of Hormuz being closed. And there is something interesting. It's been circling around on X and other social media platforms, take it with a grain of salt. It's 4chan, but I think it's worth noting here. Somebody, anonymous, has posted on 4chan. Let's see if I can read these in order. I posted yesterday with a 36-hour timeline. We are now in the 24-hour window. Look for a significant number of Iranian leadership to be exterminated. The leadership of Iran is made up of a secret council of 22 military and political leaders who meet regularly in a bunker in Tehran. One of their members is a Mossad agent. Needless to say, this group goes first. Israel knows after the last few years that this is the time to end this shit show, and tactical nukes will take out most of Iran's missile infrastructure in the first strike. Tehran will go in the first wave with a false flag attack set up for Israel to kick things off. Cheers. Venezuela was a test for what is happening in Iran. A large part of the Iranian military and leadership will be vaporized in the opening salvos. Israel will use tactical nukes to take out Iranian missiles and their bases. We are T-minus 3 days now. Now, that was posted on 4chan yesterday. But it's not just this goofy 4chan tweet, which, that could be disinformation. It could wind up being nothing. It could be completely off base, but we've also seen how 4chan has gotten things right in the past. So, we'll have to see, but there are other outlets like the Kobayashi letter saying that Axios reports that there is evidence that U.S. war with Iran is imminent and Israel's preparing for a scenario of war within days. A weeks-long full-fledged war, unlike the Venezuela operation, that there's a joint U.S.-Israeli campaign much broader in scope than the 12-day war in June, and that the Armada now consists of 2 aircraft carriers, 12 warships, hundreds of fighter jets, and multiple air defense systems, and that more than 150 U.S. military cargo flights have moved weapon systems and ammunition to the Middle East. So, is this it? God knows. But it very well could be. We'll have to wait and see what happens over the next few days. As we've seen with some of the past operations, the 12-day war, the Venezuela thing, Donald Trump likes to wait until the markets have closed on Friday in an attempt to disrupt the market as little as possible. But no matter what happens, this is going to be bad. And I also tweeted out earlier, there's some new polling on the concept of war with Iran. Let me pull this up real quick, because I was even kind of surprised by this. This is from Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac. I can say that. If protesters in Iran were killed while demonstrating against the Iranian government, do you think the United States should take military action against Iran, or should the U.S. not get involved? 70% of Americans say that the United States should not get involved in a war with Iran. That's 79% of Democrats and 53% of Republicans, but hey, that's both parties. The majority of both parties in this country don't want war with Iran. So what are we going to get? Are we going to get what the people want, or are we going to get what the Jewish donors want? Is Miriam Adelson going to get her war? Well, time will tell. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this, obviously, and if there is any developments, we can go live with an emergency broadcast. We'll bring on some geopol analysts, to talk about this. But it does seem like things are heating up over there. It seems like we are on the cusp of war with Iran. And of course, that's coming at a time when the World Uncertainty Index, did you see this? The World Uncertainty Index has reached its highest level of uncertainty in history, surpassing COVID, the global financial crisis, and the dot-com bubble. Look at this chart. Unbelievable. This was 9/11 over here. This is the Iraq War. This was COVID. And now look at where we are, just through the roof. This was posted by Bar Chart yesterday. So things are getting absolutely out of control. And of course, this is all happening at a time when, if you watched the show on Monday, we had Dark Enlightenment on to talk a little bit about the housing crisis in this country. But U.S. housing market has reached its most unaffordable level in history. Look at this chart. It's just off the rails. It makes the 2006 bubble look like, well, doesn't make it look like nothing, but geez, it's not good. And that's not all. There was another thing that I saw. Let's take a look here. Subprime auto loans are now up to a record 6.9%. Serious delinquency rates have more than doubled since 2021. This exceeds the 1996 peak by 0.9%. For context, the 2008 financial crisis high was 5%. And again, we are closing in on 7%. So I'll make this chart a little bit bigger here for you to take a look at. And so all of this is happening as we're going to war with Iran, as there's unrest in the streets in Europe, and it's all because we're undergoing a great financial reset. People have been talking about this for years, and if you've been watching this program, we've been tracking the prices of gold and silver, and it's gone nuts. So in order to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your kids, whether we go to war or not, there's nothing that's going to stop the financial debasement of the US dollar that we've been dealing with our entire lives. The dollar is designed to go down in value, and that means that you are being robbed of your time, of your work, and the best way to prevent that kind of theft from happening, the theft of your labor, your hard-earned dollars, one of the best ways to protect yourself is by buying gold and silver from our friends at atlasbullion.com/backlash. We've got a link on our website. You can go to our website, and if you use the link, it does help support this show. But you can stack precious metals the easy way with a gold or silver subscription from Atlas Bullion. Silver subscriptions as low as $55 a month, gold subscriptions as low as $200 a month. Get prepared. Don't sit back and think that you're not going to be affected by this. If we wind up going to war with Iran, the financial markets are going to go absolutely nuts. The Straits of Hormuz, like I said, they're already testing partial closures of it. It's going to go wild. So protect yourself at atlasbullion.com. And with that, I have actually gone through all of the stories that I had for you tonight. So please get your last minute super chats in. We'll be taking a look at what you have to say here in just a second. But before we go there, let's make sure that this is all up and running. Let's see if there's anything on entropy. But before we go there, I do want to share with you, we got something in the mail from our friends over at Above Time Coffee. So let's take a look at what they sent us. It's like a super chat, but IRL. And by the way, if you would like to send us anything, you can send us snail mail at P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho, 83877. You can send us a letter, donation, Nazi memorabilia, whatever, man. But wow, check this out. Oh, right. We have got here, sorry about the loud noise. Look at that. That's incredible. This is a 2-pound bag of New England organic light roast coffee. Oh, and it smells so good. Whew. This is one of those moments when I'm happy I didn't give up coffee for Lent. I tried to do that years ago. I think it was like 2015. It was like one of my first serious Lents after I converted to Catholicism. And I decided everybody was giving up coffee. So I'm like, okay, I'll give up coffee too. I was actually living with a bunch of priests at this point, some priests and brothers, and they all gave up coffee. And I was like, okay. We got on to day 2 of Lent. I don't even think I made it to Friday. And Father Pryor called me into his office, and I'm like, what's the matter, Father? And he's like, David, Lent is about making yourself miserable, not everybody around you. Please just drink the dang coffee and leave us alone. And so there's like a couple of lessons I've learned, now that I've been Catholic for a little over a decade. And that is, I'm not giving up coffee, and I'm not giving up nicotine. I need those at a bare minimum to function. And listen, not Antelope Hill, Above Time Coffee. They really do. They make some of the absolute best coffee. You can visit their website, abovetimecoffee.com. It's all fair trade, not kosher, non-kosher coffee. It is hand roasted, small batch, and it's essentially like made to order. So please go visit abovetimecoffee.com, use promo code Backlash10, and you will not be disappointed. I don't think that there's any way that I could possibly exaggerate how amazing this coffee smells. I mean, it seeps through the box. It's just unbelievable. So I'll let you know how this goes. This particular bag that I got here is the organic New England coffee. And if it tastes half as good as it smells, it's going to be like the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. So how much is a 2-pound bag of this stuff worth? Let's see, $32. Not bad. Not at all. So please go visit Above Time Coffee. Use promo code Backlash10. And thank you for the big bag of coffee, guys. I do appreciate it. Okay, let's do some super chats. What's today's date? February 18th. The Wing It Hussar sent $10. Very interesting episode. I'm trying to prepare myself for anything that can happen while out in public. Yeah, true. Things are getting very crazy, and you've got to be prepared. So definitely visit our friends at ODGG Supply. And if you're in the Seattle area, I think they have a store. So if you follow PNW Gorilla on X, you should be able to hook up with them. Let me just pull up his Twitter account real quick and show it to you so you can follow him. It's at PNW Gorilla. We're working on doing a collab, perhaps, at the end of this month. So we will keep you up to date on that. But they've got the best gear. You don't want to be caught flat-footed or unprepared. We are entering a time of great uncertainty. So thank you very much for that. We have a $19.99 super chat from YouTube, from Mars5064. She said, learning lots. Thank you, Dave. Praying you have a fruitful Lent. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I think, oh, no, we just got another one that came through. Let's take a look. Oh, the poor kid upstairs. It is bedtime. IRLCon sent $10 on Rumble. Are they all under some kind of MK Ultra gone rogue? They're admitting everything, basically. The Jews? Yeah, they are. It's crazy. They call that chutzpah, right? They call that chutzpah, where they just come right out to your face and tell you exactly what they're doing. They're psyoping us. They're sending their agents to America to try to get people to support their wars. And they don't really give a shit anymore whether or not people notice, because that cat is out of the bag. But like I said, we are far from over on this thing. We've got primaries that are coming up in just a couple of months. Then we're going to have to deal with this J.D. Vance situation in 2028. The real solution to all of this, by the way, and we're going to be doing a lot more content on this as we go forward, but the real solution is you. The real solution is thinking local. We talked about this on the show with Dark Enlightenment earlier this week, but you need to find your tribe. You need to get a group of young men in your area that see the world the way that you do and network them together. Build businesses, be successful, build gyms, active clubs, like I said, businesses, fraternal networks. This is the way forward, and not only will it help with doing things like local politics, but it'll also help with morale. It's one of the reasons why we started the show, because a lot of times when you're out here and you're on X, you're on these social media apps, and you see what's going on in the world, and you look around at the rest of the brainwashed zombies around you, and you start to think that you're alone, but you're not. There are people like you and me everywhere. It's just a matter of finding everybody and linking together and building something in the real world. And that's why it's so important to do like these IRL meetups. I know PNW Gorilla does his rucks all the time. Like once a month, he gets a big group of people and goes hiking in the mountains. We're also, I mentioned this at the top of the show, but if you just joined us, thank you for joining us. On February 27th, if you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest, I guess if you want to drive like 4 or 5 hours, if you're in Seattle, I don't know. I wouldn't make you do that, but we are going to be hosting a private get-together here in North Idaho Friday evening. So if you want to come to that, if you want to get together and meet some other like-minded people, send us an email at info@thebacklash.net. You can send us a DM on X at @RealBacklash. You could send me a DM on my Twitter account. We also, I think, have a contact page on our website. Let me just, if you go to our website, and you go to About, and you can click Contact Us, you can send us an email. I don't need to know where you live or anything like that, but let me know that you're in the area, and I'll send you information on where Friday night's get-together is going to be. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of interesting people, and we're looking forward to it a lot. And we'll also be posting some updates about our little dinner that we're going to be having on the 28th. Thank you to everybody, by the way, that bought a ticket to that. We sold out, and it's going to be a wonderful evening. And I can't tell you too much about it before it happens, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah. What else do we have? I think we have one last contractual obligation for the evening, and that is mentioning our good friends at North Idaho Tallow Company. They make soap and skincare products that aren't made with harsh chemicals. They aren't made with endocrine disruptors. They're made out of grass-fed tallow and organic, real ingredients. The kind of stuff that your grandmother would have made. It's, old world stuff. And so you can go to idahotallow.com. They've got soap, balm, lip balm, candles, everything that you need to smell fresh, feel clean, and the best part is that it's a small family-owned company here in North Idaho, and helping them helps the whole community. So if you shop at idahotallow.com, orders over $100 will ship for free. And they also have a 3-bar soap of the month club. So, one of the ways that you can help support this program is by going to Idaho Tallow and signing up for the Soap of the Month Club. No lampshades. And don't eat it, by the way. It's not good to eat. So that does it for me. On Friday, we're going to be getting together with Homath. We're going to be talking about women, the red pill, and how to navigate e-girls, etc. So that'll be a great show. On Monday, we've got a huge show with Casey Putsch. He's running for governor of Ohio. It's going to be great to talk with him. And then for the second half of that week, we've got a bunch of collaborations that are in the works. And then the week after that, we've got Carl Dahl. He's the author of Faction with the Crusaders. It's a fiction book about the Spanish Civil War. We're going to be able to talk to him, get his take on American, European politics, and we'll find out more about his books. We've also got a big interview with Jim White, the proprietor of Northwest Liberty News. He's up in Kalispell, Montana, so he'll be joining us in the next couple of weeks to talk about some of the issues that they've been facing in Montana. And man, just the list of collaborations is endless. We've got a bunch planned for you. So thank you for sticking in with us. Please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends that you think would like this kind of content, and help the channel grow. Thank you very much for everybody for tuning in. God bless you. Have a holy Lent, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.